Yep.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another after Christmas, before New Year's episode of Phil and the Mic. I, as always, am Darrin Michael, and with me, the man, you can see how exhausted this guy is. He just got back from the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, where he's actually the San Diego County Credit Union spokesman, and he was actually broadcasting the UCLA-NC State game. Mr. Phil Calise. Phil,
Oh.
wake up. You traveled all that. You traveled all that way
Ugh.
to go to the bowl game only to have it canceled hours before. How pissed off were you? Be honest.
Yeah, Christmas was ruined. Christmas Eve was ruined. UCLA is vomitos to the NC State people. You know what? It's funny. What's going on? So, a Merry Christmas to you and
you
to
also.
our audience. And I know we didn't have a chance to do a show right before Christmas, so we're sneaking one in right in between the holidays, which is nice. It's funny that you led with that, as your opening joke, because it's getting a little out of hand with the cancellations with bowl games. We got 57 people out with a head cold, and due to the protocols, you can't field teams and all this other stuff. But UCLA took it to a whole nother level with the 4 hours before the game. They could have just waited till the opening coin toss, send 3 people out in mass, start coughing and walk off.
Know.
It's ridiculous. Miami did it to Washington State. They're already down in Texas, waiting to play, get ready for the week. This better be the last year of COVID. That's all I can say. It's absurd what's happened this bowl season. And it just gives people, like, if you notice, I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but if you see the write-ups when games are canceled, it'll say something like, we'll use Miami. Miami is had to pull out of the bowl game due to COVID positives and injuries. It's like,
you got to throw the and injuries in there.
Now. It's just anything, but it's anything now. It's because it's a combination of, it's really a combination of 3 things. These guys opting out of bowls, the better players. Yeah, there's injuries. The transfer portal. How many guys are dipping in the transfer portal, so they're bowing out? And then you get 6 or 10 COVID positives, and now it's like, goodbye bowl game. Crazy.
Well, you know what? And I completely agree with that. And it's so messed up. And let's just continue that with the NCAA, because you brought up some incredible points that I think annoy all of us. I just don't understand why it doesn't annoy the committee. I know coaches are bothered by this whole thing, but the latest thing is you have a Texas freshman basketball player, right? I think he was the number 31 overall prospect. His name is Jalen Tyson. I've never even heard of him, but he's entering the transfer portal. You'll never guess why he's entering the transfer portal.
Oh boy, let me know.
Because he's not getting the playing time that he wants.
Yeah, well, that's 98.5%. Nobody's leaving for good reasons per se.
Dude, that's a load of crap. I'm sorry. Listen,
but that's all of it. Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. It's like you've created a bunch of sissies. That's what I'm saying. Prissy, man. Oh, I can't get my way, so I'm gonna leave. And guess what? I'm gonna play right away wherever I go. No, you need to be penalized for leaving like you were before. You need to have to sit out that year. You can't just leave because you're upset with your playing time, or because this or that. It's just like the stupid. You don't even need a reason. You just transfer because you just want to transfer.
And I also heard it said by I think it was a pretty big college football coach. It might have been Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State coach, but it might have been someone else. I could be associating it with the wrong person. But he was talking about the rash of opt-outs for these guys that are getting ready. And he goes, so let me get this straight. He goes, they're opting out. They can't play. They're opting out of a bowl game so they can get ready 4 months in advance for a combine. He goes, I forgot that they're going into tennis after this. I guess one more game is going to get them. They played 2 years, 3 years, whatever of college football, and one more game is the real dangerous game that they can't finish out their season, have pride for their school, not leave their team hanging, like all this stuff. And I get it. Listen, if you're on the other side of the coin, you'll hear the same argument. Coaches jump ship anytime they want, and they get ripped apart for it. And it's not good for the sport. Imagine if the NFL allowed that. Imagine, the whole Jet team would have opted out. Their season's been over for weeks. And imagine if, a big name coach could just go to another NFL team right in the middle of a year. Like it would be we'd consider it mass chaos. We wouldn't watch the sport. But in college football, it's just accepted.
You know,
It's ruining the sport.
it's absurd if you think about it. And if you look at there's an updated list. These are just some of the top players, right? Ohio State's going to be without two of their top receivers. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are going to be out. I mean,
Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Oh, they both opted out.
they both opted out. I mean, that's going to hurt. Then you've got
Yeah.
Pickett from Pittsburgh. You think they're going to be able to compete without him?
Well,
Come
the
on.
running back from Michigan State
The
also in
running
the
back
same
from
game
Michigan
opted
State,
out.
Walker. You've got
Yep.
Thibodeau from Oregon, and your
Yep.
boy Hamilton from Notre Dame.
And Kyron Williams, the running back from Notre
And
Dame.
Kyron Williams, right? And
They
not only
both
that,
opted out.
dude, Hamilton is way too big to be a safety. How many
6'4",
safeties are that?
6'4",
6'4" as
220.
a safety? Gee, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So here's my question, man. Since we're going down this this avenue here, can anything be done about the opt out? Do you find any? Do you find if you were to do this? Okay, we take the transfers, we take the opt out, all
You're
this
trying
crap.
to get into Phil's brain. I've thought about this.
Yeah. I listen. I know you have, because I know this irks you like it irks everybody else. What do you think you can do from a college sports standpoint to just no more? How do you stop the madness
I think there's a
that they've created?
And
Right?
I think there's about 4 or 5 things that have to go hand in hand to make college football, the bowl, and the entire experience a little bit different if it was me leading it, right? And they always talk about there's really nobody running college football, which is why it's a muck. Like teams are leaving conferences, the whole thing is just bananas. I think you got to have, and I hate committees and I hate people and groups and all this stuff, but I think you have to have somebody who's looking out for the sport.
Yeah.
Right. Forget the school and the player. Someone who's looking out for the authenticity of the sport, right? To keep it going 50 years from now, where it's not just a free for all. So I would look at it and put all these things together. First thing I would do is, if we're now giving out this NIL stuff, right? This name, image, likeness, and now guys can make literally potentially millions of dollars without ever being proven to be even good in college football, let alone the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I would tie their scholarship to NIL and the completion of a certain amount of years at the school. Even if it's 1 year, it means a full year where you have to play in as many games as we have, barring injury. Now, there's always ways, you could fake an injury. There's always things you could claim you're injured. I can't get into that, right? You can't solve for everything, but I would tie a kid's scholarship, their NIL money, and their opting out as something you can't do, right? If you accept 1 penny of NIL money, you can't opt out of a bowl game. You can't opt out of a game. So now I take what I think is a bad thing, NIL, and I take, which is another bad thing, opting out, and I marry them together to try to prevent it from happening.
Interesting.
So that would be one
thing. I like it.
Second thing I would do, and this is, me, I'm all about contraction of, NBA seasons. I think there's too many games, whatever. I would cut the amount of bowl games in half. There's just stupid bowl. There's too many bowl games.
The fact that 75% of the teams get into a bowl game, that's too much for you?
It's a little bit much. So I would, by cutting the bowl games in half, you do 2 things. You reward the teams who really should be rewarded, and it makes a bowl game mean something, right? And I think if you only get into half the bowl games, as you get culture, like generationally, if you cut from, I think there's 40 bowl games or something absurd.
It's
right?
absurd.
So there's 80 teams that make a bowl game, and I'm throwing a number out, whatever. If you cut that to 20 bowl games, right? Now there's only the top 40 teams in college football that get to a bowl game. Now all of a sudden, after a few classes and you haven't even made a bowl game, when you make one, you're not as quick to opt out of it. You're not as quick to downplay it. You're not as quick to say, oh, it's the Gasparillo Bowl and blah, 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 blah. But
becomes much more important. Yeah.
And first of all, you get back to the real 20 solid bowl names instead of the Wheat Eaters, Cotton Bowl, Chick-fil-A Bowl. Let's get to Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl. Let's name some fruits and let's have a good day.
No. It's all about money. It's all about money.
But nobody's watching these bowl games. You ever see these stadiums? They pan out. There's 9 people in the stadium.
What are you talking about? Dude, you're the spokesman for San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, okay?
I know.
what it comes down to is, listen, anybody gets a bowl game if they have enough money to sponsor it. That's what it comes out to. It's just a money making machine. That's all the bowls are.
Yeah.
Way back,
but
listen, 40
yeah,
years ago, like you're saying, it was the
it
important
was
ones.
special.
50, 60 years ago, it
Nobody
was just
opted out of a
no,
bowl game.
no.
Nobody
It's
Plus, you know what? If you opted out of a bowl game 30 years ago, the NFL scouts would say, I don't know if he's draftable. The kid's got a problem.
it
Like,
used to listen. It used to just be called the Holiday Bowl. Like, why
I
is
know.
it San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl?
Well,
Like,
I know.
why can't it just be the Holiday Bowl,
So
the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl? I mean,
I
you're
agree.
right. That had a lot of meaning. Now it's just and you know what? It's not even like there's
Well,
big
it's the cool,
payouts.
by the way, and I hate them, but it's the cool thing about it's still Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
It's not, the
What
Bronx Zoo at Yankee Stadium.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying it's still Yankee Stadium. There's no name in front of it to ruin the name.
Oh my
they didn't
God, dude,
sell the naming rights.
Jesus, talking about a 360 there. Yeah, okay. All right.
Well,
I
I'm
got
saying
you.
name it.
I
I'm
got you.
saying the name. Well, you're talking about naming, right? They're naming the bowls to get money from a sponsor. You're
There's
not
plenty of stadiums that aren't sponsored.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are
Look
there?
at every baseball stadium, dude.
No, City Field where the Mets play. It's sponsored by
Okay.
Citibank.
What about the Orioles?
They should sponsor something.
They've been trying for years
They
to get
need the money.
sponsored. Nobody
Okay,
wants to.
maybe that's the first thing somebody should have walked into to
They
the owner and say, "Hey, we need a sponsor."
they don't need the money. They don't need the money because they don't pay their
I don't want to
players.
have this argument on the podcast with you, but I just thought about the National League East and every other stadium. Every stadium in the National League East has a name. They have a
All
name.
right. All right. What about Chicago Cubs?
You name that's it, and Fenway Park.
What about the
Those
White
three.
Sox? What about the White Sox?
The White Sox are Commercia Park. They have the Comerica
No,
Park.
no, that isn't that. No, they're not.
No,
That's not White Sox. Aren't they
we'll
still?
do this on the next
All
podcast.
right, all right.
You go do some homework. I'm gonna guess it's 85 to 90% of MLB teams have a stadium named with a sponsor.
Interesting.
And you named four. Three are historic. One's a joke. Your Orioles, they need a name. They need 20 million a year to buy a player. somebody sponsor our 150 viewers. Somebody find a sponsor for the Orioles, please.
Listen, I got. How about fill in the Mike Stadium? What about that?
Let's go. Fill in the Barstool Sports Stadium. Come on, Baltimore. They'd have some money finally.
Yeah, that would be nice,
So,
right? That'd be nice. Maybe they
seriously.
could get some players. It's like a guy does well, and they have to get rid of him.
Last thought to close out the bowl thing. So I said tie name, image, and likeness to finishing a season.
Yeah.
Cut the bowls in half and go to a 12-team playoff, right? So you go to a 12-team playoff, and then you add the requisite amount of bowls to get you to meet. To me, 40 teams should play. 12 are playing for a playoff and a championship. The other 28 are playing in a more meaningful set of bowls. And I think that combination, and if I was being extra nitpicky and I'm just saying my wish list, because I'm doing all that, I would probably say you get rid of conference championships because you're playing 12 teams making the playoff and you only have so many weeks in a season. And I think to be fair, I think you do something like that. And I think college football would be so much better, but it's not going to happen. To your point about money.
No, I don't. I agree. I agree. And you realize there's been 6 bowl games that have been canceled so far.
And it kind of and by the way, COVID is just shining a light on something that's been going on for years. No one cares about these bowl games, particularly these lesser ones. So opting out of them is no big deal.
Didn't you say? Remember at the beginning of COVID? Didn't we joke on another episode about how Nick Saban probably put all of his players into a room. You get one COVID positive guy just to breathe on everybody else. They all have COVID, and then they're good for the rest of the season.
Burn through it.
Like that's what they should be doing. Okay, it's like as soon as the last bowl game is over, it's like, all right, you've got Omicron. All right, come on in. We're gonna.
You got that Omicron? Come here, son.
We're gonna start breathing on each other. Come on, let's.
You got that Delta? Come here, son. Hug each other out.
That's basically what it is. Yeah. So it's unbelievable. But as of right now, there are still some bowl games which are on. I picked 5, and you and I are going to go head to head, and let's see how we do. I mean, listen, we both might name all of the same. We might pick the same teams, but maybe we won't. So, number 1, and we'll do this with the spreads too. That way, it makes it a little more challenging. Cincinnati versus Alabama. Alabama favored by 13.5 points, the biggest spread of any bowl game.
Yeah, You went right to the playoff.
I'm going
Um,
right to the big one. That's right. Right to the big one.
yeah, I mean, I've teased on this a few weeks back. I really haven't dug in too much into these games, honestly. But I think there's a couple things with Cincinnati. I think the makeup of a player that goes there and the grittiness of that team, and it's an older team.
Yep.
I don't think they're gonna play scared in this game. I don't think they're gonna be overwhelmed, and I think this is the worst version of Alabama. So like we've had the tale of 2 weeks, right? The week where they almost lose to Auburn and should have lost to Auburn, right? And what led up to the Georgia game, which was Alabama's awful and like they're horrible,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then Georgia's a way too big favorite in the game, and I say like that's a mistake waiting to happen. Like Alabama's now being downplayed, and watch how they show up and beat Georgia, and they did that. Now they're just too big a favorite off the Georgia game.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I just think you have an actual mobile running senior quarterback in Ritter who's going to give them trouble.
Mm-hmm.
The types of quarterbacks that don't give Alabama trouble are the more stationary quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Ritter can move. He's not going to be overwhelmed by Alabama. They got the transfer Alabama running back there. He's not going to be overwhelmed by Alabama. They got 3 or 4 kids they're projected to go in the first 2 rounds of the draft. So they got some real talent.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
Alabama talent. Nobody has. But I think 13.5 is too much. And I think I'm going more off the fact I don't think they're going to win the game. But I do think they could put a scare into them. And the only other thing I would say about Cincinnati is when people say like they don't belong in this game or Alabama's just going to run all over them and destroy them, you did kind of get a sneak peek at this game a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So SEC fans, Georgia Bulldog fans, you guys touted being the greatest team since sliced bread this season until Alabama whacked them over the head. Well, just a year ago to the day, pretty much, Georgia played Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. Georgia beat them in a last minute field goal by 3 points. Cincinnati does belong against these teams right now.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
class of Cincinnati Bearcats, not the school itself. Yeah, the name doesn't seem like it belongs, but they ran this back a year ago and lost to them by a field goal. That same Georgia team went 12-0 and smashed everyone in the SEC
Yeah,
until
yeah.
they lost to Alabama. So why can't Cincinnati belong on the field with Alabama if they lost to Georgia by 3? Like,
True. It's true.
I'm not buying this idea Cincinnati is really a 14-point underdog in this game. Long-winded way to say I'll take the 13.5.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game too, and I really like Alabama. I like how they turned it on at the end of the season like that. But yeah, they play a lot of close games, and like you said, I mean, Cincinnati performed really well last year in a bowl game, and I think this easily could be a blowout, but I don't see that happening. I think Cincinnati is definitely going to step up, and I gotta say, man, I agree with you. I
Hey,
100% agree with you. I think this game is Alabama, but I think it's going to be more like a 7 or 10 point game, not a 14-point game. So I'm going to agree with you on that case. Next game, let's stay big. UGA favored by 7.5 over Michigan.
yeah, and now this one's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Because you just got the bad taste in your mouth from Georgia's awful performance against Alabama. And
Yep.
and you
Yep.
know, and I've been on record as saying the SEC gets overrated, but I
Yep.
never say it's overrated at the top.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the top is legit. I think the middle gets dragged up by the powers that be that want to see the
Of
top look
course.
even toppier, to make up a phrase.
Top is a
Like
good word. Yeah. Yeah.
top year. So, you get those middle teams that again, you saw it last night, by the way. Texas Tech beat Mississippi State by 27 points.
Yeah.
Mississippi State, who was living in the top 25 all year just to boost the top of your part up. I'm just going to stay with top year. I like it. So you see stuff like that. And then it comes to, whatever. But I do like Georgia in this game. And I like them. And I'm going to keep it real simple. Michigan does not have, to me, legitimate quarterbacks. They're gonna use two. Neither one are really that good.
No.
One's more
No.
of a runner. The other one runs for his life when they don't block well. But they're not quarterbacks in the sense that I think offer multi-dimension. And
Mhm.
I think Georgia's defense, who's now going to take a big step down from facing Bryce Young to whatever the combination of two quarterbacks are at Michigan. I think that's the kind of defense Georgia's feasted on. That's
Yep.
the kind of offense Georgia's feasted on all year. Michigan's got some nice things they do with the running backs. they're the most dangerous part of Michigan right now is they believe they're great.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
they believe right now they're 13-0 or 12-1. They believe they can win this game, and I think that makes them dangerous. But I
Yep.
think after two quarters, two mid third quarter, Georgia starts to impose their will and covers late and covers like by 13 or 14, but it's a closer game. It's a game where Michigan's down 7 or 8, and then the cover happens later, and I think Georgia ends up winning by 13 or so.
Listen, it's gonna be a tough game. When I look at this game, and I think you hit it right on the head. The quarterback play, especially for Michigan, is super, super suspect. I'm looking at this thing like it's going to be a defensive struggle. You look at that Michigan defensive line; they're
They could give
really, really
Stetson.
good.
They could
They're
give
really, really
Stetson
good.
some trouble.
And Stetson's not any good either. I don't
No,
what's his first name again?
Stetson
Stetson what?
Bennett
What's
the
his last name?
fourth. Stetson Bennett the fourth.
Yes, hello, I'm Stetson Bennett the fourth. If I don't want to hurt myself in this game because that might affect my status at the country club. Come on. Who the hell names their kid the fourth?
When you
I
got
mean, give me a
Aiden
break.
Hutchinson chasing you down.
Dude,
Ah,
okay. That
Mama,
guy,
let me in the door.
I pray to God that guy is a Jet. It'll never happen, but I
No,
would love for him to be a Jet.
not after our
But
big win last week.
I mean, if you look at that, if you look at the Georgia defense, right, they allow 81 rushing yards a game. All right, Michigan's going to get nothing in the air because their quarterback is terrible. But then again, look at how Michigan has been playing. Right, they they thrashed the then number 2 Ohio State. I mean, they destroyed them, and then they go and they play an overrated, let's be honest, an overrated Iowa team who was ranked number 13. They beat them
Only in the
40.
game because they have stupid divisions. They're not the second best
Oh,
team.
it's crazy.
I
It's crazy.
hate the
But
divisions. Go ahead.
dude, you don't go to your conference championship and win 42-3. All
Yeah,
right.
wow.
This team can play, and
Yeah.
it's I do think that Georgia is the better team. I really do. But I think that this game is going to be closer than what we think, because I think that Michigan is not getting enough credit for their overall picture. Yeah, I don't think their offense is fantastic as far as their quarterback is concerned, and they're playing a super, super fast defense. But I think that Georgia's quarterback is going to have trouble too. I see this being a lower scoring game. I mean, if you look at this one, the over under on this thing is only 45. So for a college football game, that's actually pretty low. So they're
It is.
expecting a big defensive struggle here. And 7.5 is a lot of points. Do I think that Georgia's going to win? I'm more inclined to say that Georgia's going to win, but I think it's going to be a tighter game than that. So I'm going to take Michigan and the 7.5. Thank you very much, and say, Georgia, hey, great game. You guys beat us, but you didn't beat us. You beat us on a last second field goal, or maybe even a safety at the very end of the game.
No, I get it. I get
You
it.
know,
I get it. There's not a lot to love about Stetson Bennett. That Michigan front seven is going
there's
to be
really
good.
not. There's really
No,
not. There's really not. So
yeah, I hear you.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Next game, Ohio State -6.5 versus Utah.
Yeah.
And this
So
one,
let's tell our audience how these bowl games work. The audience. So for those that don't know, I would never bet bowl games. By the way, you could bet the playoff. You could bet the playoff.
yeah,
And I say this for two. Right now, you should never bet a bowl game if you want to save your if you want to value your money, because with COVID, I mean, if you're
seriously.
going to bet a game, bet it 5 seconds before kickoff anyway.
Yep.
So you even know who's in the game. But I was only saying it because the bowl season gets down to what team's motivated to be there. And oftentimes both teams in any one game aren't. So now you're down to, how do you figure out who actually wanted to be there and who doesn't? And there's
Mhm.
a whole host of reasons why teams want to be there. And there's a whole host of reasons why, you get a bunch of opt-outs and a team who maybe was really good all year. It's not even the same team.
Yeah. Yeah.
For instance, Ohio State's got a three-headed monster at receiver.
Yeah.
They're darn near impossible to stop, although I know, they did happen to lose 2 games, which I personally think Ohio State should have still been ranked number 1. But hey,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just my Ohio State bias. Making a little joke there. You know how I feel about Ohio State. But
No.
they did have a three-headed monster at receiver, and two
Yeah.
heads of
Yeah.
the monster have been cut off, and they're opting out of the bowl game.
It's
So
true.
I don't feel they're nearly as dangerous now. But Utah's, when you hear Utah, they got 2 losses in a bad conference. They're not any good. I know they beat Oregon twice by about 100 combined, so good for them. They obviously owned Oregon this year. But I mean, like when I hear Utah, so I'm going to take Utah plus 6.5, but I don't want to pick this game, and I will never bet this game.
Well, for your information, I gotta update it. The spread's now 4.5.
Oh, I thought you said 6.5.
It was 6.5, and it's down to 4.5
Well,
now.
I'm taking the 6.5
You're gonna take the 6.5
in this
Yeah.
made up pick.
So you're taking Utah.
Again, who wants to be there? Who's motivated? Clearly, clearly CJ Stroud thought he was throwing to 3 great receivers, and now he's throwing to 1 great receiver. That's not as easy to deal with. I don't know. I'll take
Listen,
Utah.
Utah's
scrappy.
It's true. Utah does have a good team, and they're on a roll. They're
And
coming
I feel
in
if I had to
as hot as
guess,
anybody.
Ohio State's been in Rose Bowls all the time, right? Utah's not. So if I'm just trying to guess who's more motivated to be there, it would feel like Utah will think of this as an honor to play in this game.
That's
That's
I don't know about that. And I kind of look at it this way too, right? I mean, Wilson had 70 catches for 1,058 yards, and Olave had 65 catches for 936 yards. Yeah, they have a 3-headed monster, but I think you're forgetting that Jackson Smith. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Jigba,
Oh yeah,
whatever the hell his
Jigsaw
name is.
puzzle.
You got to remember he had 80 catches for 1,259 yards. So he didn't have the touchdowns that the other guys had, but he still had the receptions. And you still have CJ Stroud, who he had a great season. He had a great season. Yeah, and so these guys, I'm not going to say that these guys don't still have weapons. I mean,
take Ohio State, you big jerk, Big Ten fan. Go ahead.
They're Ohio State. They still have a good running back, and at the end of the day, like you're saying, I mean, you look at the Utah Utes, and it's like, okay, what are they bringing to the table here? They've lost 3 games. They haven't had the toughest schedule. Their quarterback, his name is Cameron Rising, and he's fine. He's a serviceable quarterback, but he's got this mustache that looks really stupid. I got to be honest with you. So because of the stupid looking mustache and the fact that Ohio State has a big, they're just really, really upset about how their season ended. I'm going to have to say that Ohio State's going to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game probably by 10 points. There, I said it. I did it.
I hear you.
Now let's move on to actually a very competitive game, Ole Miss versus Baylor. And this one is actually pretty exciting because there's virtually no spread in this. The spread's only 1.5 points, and Ole Miss is favored. Ole Miss, who's been in the top 25 all year long. Baylor also is actually a really good team. Where do you see this thing going? I mean, this is a tough game, I think.
I'm going to go with the better quarterback. And it's interesting. I mean, you got a big time offense, I guess, versus sounds weird to say a Big 12 football team has a big time defense, but Baylor's had a good defense all year. So you're going.
You're
with,
right. That is funny to say.
You're going with contrasting styles here. You're going with Ole Miss's big offense.
Yep.
Against Baylor's big defense.
Yep.
If we remember the Baylor Oklahoma State game, incredible game in the Big 12 title game. Baylor tackles the guy at the half-yard line, or else Baylor's not in this game.
Yep.
So very interesting game. I'll take Ole Miss in a close game, but I think it could go either way.
Yeah, and I kind of see the exact same thing. I think it should be a hell of a game. But you know what? I think in the end, I think the Baylor football team is looking at the Baylor basketball team and saying, wait, you guys were national champions. You guys are ranked number 1 again. Why can't we be great too? I think that's what they're saying. I think they come out and I think they take Ole Miss on a last second field goal. Baylor by 3 points, man. That's what I'm saying.
I like it.
And then our last game, I saved this one for last because this one is going to be the most fun. Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that you never hear anything about, minus 2.5 versus a strong Oklahoma State team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is, again, it's kind of a Oklahoma State's also a really good defensive team. The Big 12 actually had a few good defensive teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Oklahoma State, I don't think if they would have got that half yard they needed, would have got into the championship.
yep,
But because of how it ended up playing out, but they certainly would have been sitting there on playoff committee Saturday or whatever day. They would have been sitting there making their case as a 12-1 Big 12 champion
yeah,
that they
yeah,
deserve to be in the playoff with the rest of them, right? And they would have probably came down to Georgia or Oklahoma State because of how bad Georgia played that game.
yep,
So
yep,
Oklahoma State is just missed making the playoff.
yep.
Notre Dame was one more upset away from making the playoff. Um, so it's interesting it's interesting that they're meeting because on the last day of the season, they were both thinking they could have made the playoff. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like a
yeah,
playoff
yeah.
consolation game. Notre Dame's got some big opt-outs. Their stud running back opted out. I think surprisingly, Kyle Hamilton opted out. Not surprisingly, he's going to be a top 5 pick by pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah, he's
every
fantastic.
draft, mock draft.
Yep.
Again, we get down to motivation and it's contrasting. They're actually 10-5 in bowl games under Gundy. He's actually been there that long.
Has he really? What? You wouldn't
He's
have
a
thought
really
that.
good coach that he never left. When everybody said like Gundy always had his name in the pot for a job, he's an Oklahoma State player and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
stayed as a coach and he's been there. And I think he's going to be the next 35 year coach at a school because he loves the school.
he could be.
Um,
Yeah.
so he's a good coach. And now you got Marcus Freeman taking over. Never easy to do, a month before the end of the season, whatever. I think Notre Dame's highly motivated to be there to win for their new coach. But I think Gundy and that team is a good team. I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I'm just taking off my Notre Dame hat. I think it's
Yep.
a close loss, but I think Oklahoma State wins. I think they win like 24-21 or something.
The one thing that I can say, and I think it really, really hurts Notre Dame that their running back, who basically was their main option. I mean, if you look at all of their running backs, I mean, their next running back had like 50 carries and he had 200 and some carries. So you're
Yeah, he was their
missing
workhorse.
you're missing a huge piece of your offense. I look at Notre Dame's schedule. Let's be honest. This year, their schedule was always good. This year was crap. Okay, they played nobody. I mean, their only tough game that they had was a loss to Cincinnati, which is listen, it's your schedule. What are you going to do? You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You beat everybody that you were supposed to beat, but it's garbage. It's garbage. And you're coming in here against a team that is battle tested, that's had some big wins, that can put up some points. You're missing your all-world safety. So between the all-world safety and the great running back, I think you guys are missing two huge pieces, one enormous piece on both sides of the ball. And yeah, I actually agree with you, man. I mean, I would like to see Notre Dame play well for you because of how I feel about you.
I like that. I appreciate that.
And listen, hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. It's
You
just
think
not
they're going
going
to
to
get
happen.
stomped? Do you think they're going to get blown out?
Well, it doesn't matter. They're not going to cover. they're
All
favored
right.
by 2.5. I'm taking
So,
Oklahoma State
so if I
to
was
win outright in this
actually,
game.
as I think more about it, and I didn't really pay attention to this game in terms of the spread. I mean, I'm paying attention to Notre Dame, of course.
Yeah.
This is actually a game where Vegas is dying for you. No, I'm sorry. Let me restate that. This is a game where if I was looking to bet the game, I would take Notre Dame and say, why are they favored in this game? Like Vegas has to know something we don't know because it doesn't make sense. Explain to me why they're favored. You just laid out and I laid
Yeah.
out all
Yeah.
the reasons we're picking the other team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now tell me why Vegas, who's always smarter than us, is making Notre Dame the favorite in this game. Weird.
Because it's at State Farm Stadium.
Oh, true.
That's why. So again, that kind of goes into your theory about the names of stadiums. I couldn't even tell you where State Farm Stadium is.
It's the Fiesta Bowl, so I know it's in Arizona.
Oh no, but it's the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl.
Brought to you by State Farm.
Brought to you by State Farm, right? So it's.
I love when the Bulls do that, right? They're like, it's the Gasparillo Bowl brought to you by Chick-fil-A at the Holiday Inn Express. You're like, what? Huh? I'm eating, I'm drinking, and I'm sleeping over. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, yeah, and that's what's going to end up happening. They're making so much money that eventually it's going to be called Hey, welcome to the PlayStation Holiday Inn State Farm Fiesta Bowl.
It is ridiculous.
Sponsored by, since it's Fiesta, sponsored by Tostitos. It's like, okay, give me and also United Airlines, the official airline of the Fiesta Bowl, and then Chick-fil-A, the official chicken nugget of the Fiesta. I'm like, it's that. Ford, the official SUV of. It's like, oh my god. And then you've got Porsche, the official luxury sports car of the. I mean, you could literally go on and on and on. These guys could be making $100 million just from freaking sponsorships. Just keep mentioning it over and over. So anyway, it should be fun. It should be fun time. So man, I hope everybody enjoys it, and I look forward to our next broadcast, our next podcast when we preview the national championship game. So that should be exciting. We'll see who's right, who's wrong. Let's get into a little NFL. We took off last week, obviously, we're with our families. And I didn't even ask you, did Santa bring you everything you wanted for Christmas?
I wanted a 5-0 week, and then I didn't get a chance to even make my pick. So Santa brought me a 0-0 week.
Because let me tell you something.
Santa's hooked up to Khalees's. We're good.
Let me tell you something. I have a huge beef with Santa. I have a huge beef with him. All right. And Santa, I know you're one of our followers. So I wanted to address you specifically. All right.
That's that Santa underscore Mrs. and Mr. Claus 911. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That thing. I was a good boy this year. All right. And I think that Phil can attest I was on the good list. All right. All I asked for was 2 gifts. That's it. But you had to screw me over. All right. What did I want? I didn't ask for too much. I wanted a Porsche. You didn't bring it. I wanted a house in Maui. You didn't bring it. What the hell's wrong with you? All right. Come on. I'm a true believer. I believe in you. I believe in the magic of Christmas. You got to throw me a bone, man. You didn't get me anything that I wanted. That's all I wanted. And for you, you're Santa, for God's sakes. You can make these things happen, okay?
He knows real estate agents all around the world.
Build me a friggin' house in Maui. It's not that hard. Drive up a Porsche with a big ribbon on it to my house, okay? Fine. So I'm in New Jersey right now, my father-in-law's. You know where I am, okay? You see me when I'm sleeping. Let's go. So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be a true believer next year because I didn't get what I asked for.
Keep the faith. There's always next year.
I'm just saying. So let's get into it. So we'll go back 2 weeks. We'll go back to the fill up your bank account. And if anybody remembers that, which probably nobody does, you picked 5 games and you actually went 3-2, and you went 0-1 on your lock. Now, your lock
picked against the Jets.
You picked against the Jets, and they finally decided to
That's my
show
taboo,
up.
Though. That's 2 of my locks. I've been picking against the Jets this year. Bad job.
I don't know how you do that. I don't know. And then you had Kansas City and the Chargers. You had the Chargers +4, and Kansas City won 85-0. It's just you got to learn your lesson. One, you can't pick the Jets, although then again they won this week, which is odd. And Kansas City is just, they're back and they're just beating the crap out of everybody. So suggestion for you, if you want my honest opinion, which I know you don't, I don't care who Kansas City is playing. The chances of them winning and winning big are probably pretty good this week. So anyway, overall in the season, you're still crushing it, man. You were 32-20-1, and now you're 35-22-1. Still good. And even though your lock was 0-1, you're still 11-5 on the season. So, so you're still in good shape, and you got a little more time before you have to make those picks. So let's go into to a little thoughts on this past week, and we'll try to go through it a little bit quicker than we normally do. Here's my biggest question for you. So I was watching the New Orleans game against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins just spanked them. Okay, and granted, I kind of thought that was going to happen anyway, but as it turns out, 20 guys on the Saints were on the inactive COVID list. Yeah. Okay, so here's my question for you. Okay. And I think that we're on the same page. It seems like COVID will probably have a big impact on the last 2 weeks of the season. If you are the coach of a team, what are you doing to make sure that your team stays safe? And is there anything you can do to make sure?
I mean, it also, I don't know what you can do in terms of like, especially the holidays, right? If you want to tell your guys in a normal random October week, hey, we really need you guys to go right home. Stop, you need you go, you got to be living at the facility or living at your house. Try to limit the amount of interactions you have. I mean, maybe you could do that. What are you going to do during the holidays? I mean, like we have to move past the head cold and the fact that
Yeah. Yep.
everybody touts being 99% vaccinated, but yet we're sitting people out for 10 days where they don't even have symptoms. Like it's just stupid.
It's
There's
absurd.
so
It's
what they
absurd.
need to do is get rid of the rules that keep people out for no reason. um Whatever, but that's a whole nother story. No, I think again, between last week when this really started heating up or the week
Yeah.
before when they started delaying games or whatever they were doing, I don't think you could bet football games right now because
No, no,
I'm
you
going to put
can't.
money on a game where there's 24 people out
No,
or
no.
something crazy.
Yes,
Or
yes.
like 2 days before kick, 19 people got put into quarantine. I mean, we're doing these for this right now, but like I wouldn't be betting games right now
You
based
gotta
on what's going on.
you gotta be on top of that announcement
Yeah.
before Vegas gets to it and changes the spreads.
Yeah,
That's what you
true.
got to do. That's
That's
what you
true.
got to do. But you know what? When I learned a little bit about this new Omicron virus and its variant, it's 140 times more contagious than the initial
Hmm.
strain of COVID. So basically, what that tells me is we're all getting it. Everybody
Yeah.
is going to get it, whether you like it or not.
It's pretty
And
much
let
a
me,
head cold though. That's the
yeah,
good news.
that's all it is. That's all it is, right? And it's odd to me because listen, I'm in Georgia, and I never wear a mask ever, 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 ever wear a mask. And 2 years later, nobody in my family has gotten COVID. So the whole thing is inexplicable to me. But you know what? I mean, Omicron, if it's a head cold, fine, it's a head cold. But like you said, if
No.
you've got no like we're testing everybody no matter what. So think about what that's doing to the workforce. Also, you have no symptoms whatsoever. You got this head cold that you don't even know that you have, but you have to get tested anyway.
You get
So
tested
think
and then you discover you have something you didn't even know, right?
an already depleted workforce. I'm going out to restaurants and I've never had worse service in my entire life. It's
Oh, it's
terrible.
bad.
Nope.
It's bad with that. And I know I saw something and we're sidebarring real quick, but
Yeah, yeah.
the New York City Police Department is down 6,000 people called out.
I mean,
That's
it's
like
unbelievable.
20+% of the workforce is called out right now. So
It's unbelievable.
if
And
you
then
want to
this,
commit a
oh,
crime,
and then
now's
this,
your
well,
time.
yeah, but it's okay to commit crimes anyway. Just go to California. You just go into a store as long as it's under $900. It's a misdemeanor anyway. You just walk out of the store. They don't even have any cashiers anymore at CVS. It's just the sign says come in and take what you want. So anyway, we're getting way off. We're getting way off. So I want to talk a little bit, and I know we talked about this last time, but Green Bay, man, they just keep humming along. 12-3, 7-0 at home. Their next two games are at home versus the Vikings and then at Detroit. So it looks to me like they're going to have the number one seed locked up unless the whole team is out with COVID. Okay, unless Aaron Rodgers is out. But
Well, he
I'm
already
looking
had
at
it, so he's good.
yeah, so he's good. So I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers, right? I'm looking at his stats, and he's got 33 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions.
Yep.
And so that got me thinking, and I'm like, wow, there's nobody in football whose touchdown to interception percentages like that. I mean, you just don't hear about that. And so I looked at last year, 48 and
48 and
5.
5. We talked about
Okay.
it. Yeah. We
Yeah,
said,
and
could he beat it? We can't beat that, but yeah.
it's unbelievable. So then I decided to do a little more research, and I found the last time that he had double-digit interceptions was 2010. Okay, only 2 times in his career has he had double-digit interceptions. The last time was 12 years ago. For his career, he's got 445 touchdowns and 93 picks. So is he the best right now? And is he going to go out? Is he going to go down as the most accurate quarterback in the history of the game?
Yeah. I mean, listen, uh,
The guy doesn't
there's
turn the
no,
ball over. That's
he
the crazy
doesn't.
thing.
And
He just
he,
doesn't.
he doesn't turn the ball over and he's not the reckless player. Um, he's not the reckless player that you tend to see who who gives up some of the interceptions for the great deep throws or the great like gunslinging mentality. He's found a way to be one of the very few that can do both. Can make
Yeah.
the jaw
Yep.
dropping throw, can put it into tight windows, but also never throws picks.
That's true.
And that's really rare because all the other guys you'll name, Mahomes seemed to be coming up like him. to be the guy who can really protect the football and still
Yeah,
throw and
yeah,
make all the
yeah,
great plays. He seemed to pattern his game after him. I don't know if it's just because of the, we see them together on screen with the commercials, but he seemed to be the new Rodgers
yeah,
in
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of that. But he's had a little bit of a hiccup here and there. But yeah, I think Rodgers is the best again. I think he won the MVP last year. He's had another MVP type season this year. Oh, by the way, Packers and Chiefs, after all said and done, 1-2, and they're staring at each other in a potential collision course in a Super Bowl, which would be a historic, great matchup.
Would be,
And
would be.
maybe it won't be the case, but right now you'd have to put your money on the Packers and Chiefs. The only caveat being the Packers have a much tougher road to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Rams, the Cowboys, the Bucks. I mean, there's some real heavy hitters in the NFC. The Chiefs might be able to close their eyes and see Buffalo in the AFC title game or whatever. So I think there's less talent in the AFC right now,
Oh, by
less
far,
top
by
teams.
far. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
But it'll be interesting. Let's see if somebody can go to Lambeau and beat them. And I don't think anybody's going to Arrowhead and beating Mahomes. So
It looks like it's a crash course for those two. It definitely does. The one thing that I noticed, and we'll move on to number 3 here, is there was a Nick Foles sighting. Did you know that?
big
I
big Nick.
didn't even know he was still alive. I thought he was just resting in Maui in my beach house. I wasn't even sure. But he actually led Chicago to a 25-24 win at Seattle. Just when you think Seattle's kind of riding the ship a little bit, it turns out they suck. So,
True.
So here's the question. Do you think he's going to be starting in the NFL next year?
No.
Do you think he deserves to be starting in the NFL next year? I mean, there's some teams that
Yes.
could use a quarterback. You think he deserves it? Because it's funny because it was 8 years ago that he came in for the Eagles, led them to a Super Bowl, and he was 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions that year. Like he thought he was Aaron Rodgers, which was the strangest thing. So yeah, I think he should be a starting quarterback too. And you agree? I mean,
yeah, 100%. When you see some of these teams with the quarterback problems, yeah, why not?
All right, question number 4. Cowboys. I don't know what's gotten into him. I saw my buddy Scott last night. He was a diehard Cowboys fan, and he had a big smile on his face. I mean, 56-14 over the Washington football team. Don't call me the Redskins. They're 11-4. Their last 2 games are home versus the Cardinals and at the Eagles, which are 2 tough games, let's be honest. But my question to you is, could this possibly be the year that they get to the Super Bowl?
Yes. They can, because
Okay.
I mean, listen, I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year, and then Prescott went out. All they've added since then is another dynamic receiver and an absolute lethal pass rushing linebacker hybrid in Micah Parsons, who's just wreaking havoc.
Beast.
So they play big time defense. They can make big time disruptive plays on defense. And they have a 2-headed monster at running back, 3 talented receivers who've been on and off the field, but they'll get them all back in time for the playoffs. A quarterback who's been there, done it, an offensive line that can play. They're dangerous, and they're probably the most balanced team in terms of run pass and in terms of defense, offense, complementary football. I think they're definitely very dangerous. I actually think they're more dangerous than the Bucks. So if I was saying who's most likely to pick the Packers off, I'd probably put the Cowboys number 1, Rams a close second.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, we'll see. And then the last question, number 5. Jimmy Garoppolo. Turns out he's got a thumb tear and a fracture in his thumb. All right.
Yep.
Trey Lance has been taking first team reps. They have the Texans, and then they're at the Rams, and they're in a dog fight for that playoff spot, right? They could be one of the last. Right now, they've got the seventh spot in the playoff. So here's the thing: they're talking about they're not putting him on the IR. I don't want to say disabled list because that offends people. They're thinking about putting him on the injured reserve list, but they haven't yet because they actually think that this guy might be able to go. So here's my question for you: If Trey Lance has to play, is this team not going to make the playoffs?
Trey Lance has to play. Is this team not going to make the playoffs?
Does he bring enough to the table that he can get by the Texans and give you a shot at beating the Rams so that you can make the playoffs?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I think Trey Lance, I think they can manage the game. I think they can run the football. I think they could do some creative things with Trey Lance that Garoppolo can't do. Um, I don't know, even though they're wildly different players, I don't know if the Niners can't, depending, hopefully he's developed Lance sitting on the bench, which is how rookie quarterbacks used to develop. I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't develop
yeah,
by getting
yeah.
their butt kicked the first season. A lot of them developed by sitting there and watching. If he did, and he's really ready to go, he should be a different quarterback than Zach Wilson and all these guys that were thrown to the Wolves week one. So I think the Niners have a good enough team that they can still make the playoffs and he can be a contributor. I don't have as much dire feeling about him and if they have to go to him.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I hope for their sake. Game ball time.
Game ball.
Game ball time. Give you three guys. The first guy, honestly, when I was watching this guy play, I thought I was watching an LSU game. Let's be honest, from 2 years ago. I really did. I really did. Joe Burrow, 37 of
Stop.
46,
Just give it to him. 5 touchdowns.
525 yards and 4 touchdowns. All right,
Yeah.
in
How could we
a
not give it to him?
3 touchdown win over Baltimore. Yeah, I don't even need to
There's
go
nobody
any
you're going to
farther.
name better than that.
No, it literally it was like he was at LSU. That's what
Yeah.
it seemed like. I mean, I'm like, is he wearing a Bengals helmet? Does he have like an
Yeah.
LSU helmet under his Bengals helmet? I don't even know. I don't even know. So it was
Dominant.
interesting. So let us yeah, it was it was just a disgusting performance. I mean, just sick what he did. It was crazy good. Fill up your bank account. Have you been thinking about this all podcast, and you've come up with a decision of the 12 games that you're going to take this week?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm taking 5 games, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this works.
Come on,
I-
Santa, hook my man up. Let's go.
I'm gonna go rapid fire here. Kansas City against the Bengals. I just think the Bengals have a little something going right now, um, and they have to win. And I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this game off, but I just like the idea that they're going to be able to play a close game at home where they're getting 5 points. So I'm going to take the Bengals at home +5. I think it's just a really good game and you
Yep.
get them
Yep.
+5. I think they're going to be able to score on the Chiefs. I think Burrow's playing really well. I think this
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
has the
He is.
potential to be one of those really fun 30-27 type of Kansas City wins probably in the end, but I like the 5 points. Um, the next game, I'm going to go with a couple of bad teams that are playing scrappy. And so
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
could burn me, but I mean, I'm going to take the Lions +7 at the Seahawks. I don't think the Seahawks want to play football anymore. And the Lions seem like they want to close out their season playing well. They
Yeah.
won 2 weeks ago. Last week, they lost a close game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know who they lose to. They lost a close game to someone where they were in it till the end. Um, I'm gonna take the Lions +7 because I just don't think Seahawks have earned the right to be favored by 7 over anyone. Um, the Dallas Arizona game is a great game. Arizona is really going backwards here, like in a big
Mm,
way.
yeah.
Um, I think this game's going to be interesting because every time people finally anointed the Cowboys like the big deal, the big cheese, they lay an egg
Yep.
like
Yep.
every time. And I'm going to suspect that they have another one of those times where they don't need the game and the Cardinals do.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Cowboys are locked in. They're going to win the NFC East going away.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you could say they're playing for playoff seed, but the thing is, the 2 seed doesn't get a bye anymore. It's only the 1 seed. I
Yep.
don't think
Yep.
Dallas is catching the Packers. I just think
No,
in
not
the
a
in the
chance.
battle of motivation, I think Kyler Murray is going to give Dallas fits with his legs. This is a tough nut to crack if you're Dallas. Like if they lose contain, Kyler Murray is going to hurt them.
Yep.
So I could see Arizona covering the 5.5. They're getting 5.5, so I'm going to take the 5.5.
Okay.
Another game, and we just talked about it, but there's most likely going to be a Trey Lance slash, I mean, I don't think Garoppolo is going to play, but 12.5 seems like a lot of points. The Texans are also playing scrappy right now. And I just don't love I just don't love the giving 12.5. So, I could get burnt this week because I'm definitely taking some bad teams getting points,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I don't know. 12.5 is a lot. They might manage the game with Trey Lance. I don't know if they're going to be able to be dynamic at all times. And And, so I'm going to take the 12.5 and just say that they manage the game. They don't take a million chances because they know they're going to win the game, but they don't cover it. And
Texans are hot, man.
yeah, so I'm
They've
going to take
they've
the
won
Texans
2 in a
plus 12
row.
and a half.
They beat the Chargers and they beat the Jags, and that's always a tough victory.
Well, yeah. And then I'm going to go with my lock. My lock is going to be a little bit unusual in that I'm picking against a team who's won 7 in a row. But if you dig in on who the Dolphins have beaten,
Yeah.
I think they have one good win in the 7 weeks. I mean, it's a really ugly list of who they've been able to beat. And it's not even who they've beaten, it's when they caught the team. So, for instance, a trip to New Orleans would normally be tough, except the whole team was out with COVID. They were on their
Yep.
fourth string quarterback. And so that
Yep.
win doesn't mean what you thought it would have meant.
Yep.
In the 7-game win streak, they beat the Jets twice, struggled both times with them, but did beat them. They really just haven't looked. Listen, they've won 7 in a row. Super impressive. But the slipper falls off Cinderella this week when they go to Tennessee, face a real team with a real coach, and I'm only given 3.5 with the better team, and I think that's because of the Dolphins' hot streak.
Yep.
But
Yep.
Here's the thing: if you're dreaming up a blueprint to stop Tua, jump every 3-yard route. All he wants to do is throw 3-yard passes.
Yep.
Jump the passes, hit him 3 times, and he'll be going to bed. I mean, that's the way to stop Tua. So to me, I think Tennessee is the perfect type of defense to do it. They're the perfect mentality to do it, and I know they'll be well coached. So I'll take the Titans minus 3.5, who need the win to hold the Colts off. By the way, they need the win, or else they're gonna lose the division after leading it the whole year. So they can't get their foot off the pedal. They have to be ready to go. So that's my lock.
No, that's good. Those are some good picks, man. But yeah, those are definitely you got some big cojones this week picking some of those games. But Dolphins are an interesting case. They've won 7 in a row, but do people even realize that they won their first game, then they lost their next 7, then they won their next 7. So they're due for a loss, right? 7-7. But that's pretty. That's it. I don't care who they're playing. That's an impressive turnaround right there. That's pretty incredible. And I wonder, do you even realize that Jalen Waddle is 6 catches away from tying the rookie record for catches in a season? He's got 96 catches with 2 games to go.
Pretty incredible. I know he catches all 3-yard passes from Tua, but
he's also averaging less than 10 yards a catch as a wide receiver, which is
he catches a lot of they do a lot of those like little bubble screens, a lot of those they put him in the backfield a lot. I only know this because I watched the Jets play them twice, once in person, and he literally is in the backfield half the time to catch like 2-yard catches, but it works for them.
You know what? But listen, you've got to, and we talk about this all the time, especially with the Jets, you got to play to the strength of your quarterback. Yeah. And if your team can succeed with little 3-yard passes,
that's right.
Any 3-yard passes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have to start using Zach Wilson to run RPO. If you saw him last week with his 90 yards running.
I saw that.
I mean, Zach, Vic, Wilson, let's go.
I saw that at the end. I thought he was going to run out of bounds, but no, a little juke move to the right, goes left, goes right in, man. I was like,
he was feeling a little spry. He was feeling a little spry. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is going on here? So it was pretty interesting. Couple other quick things that I just wanted to talk about. NBA. Okay, we're 37% into the season, and we really don't ever talk about NBA because I love LeBron James. They actually the NBA just set a record for most players used in a season. They just played their 541st. It was a guy named Greg Monroe, who was a high draft pick, who actually hasn't played since 2019. All right, so they're pulling guys off the street because everybody has COVID. It's like the other day, the Raptors had 10 of their players out. These teams have 15, right? They had 10 guys out, and they're playing the who's who of players.
Again, though, this is just the same thing with the COVID protocols. It's going to wreak havoc until they start to wake up.
It's absurd. It's absurd. They lost to the incredible Cavs, 144-99. All right, just an incredible. So I want to play a little game with you really quickly, if I can. Just a quick game. They had 8 guys that played in that game. Okay, yep. I'm going to tell you their names, and I want you to tell me where they went to college.
I'm going to go real rapid. Go.
Okay. Chris Boucher.
Oh, Bobby Boucher's cousin? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
6'9" out of Oregon. Nice. DJ Wilson.
Illinois.
6'10" out of Michigan. Yuta Watanabe.
Boise State.
6'9" out of GW. He actually went 26-13. Delano Banton.
That would be Cal State Fullerton.
That's correct. 6'7" out of Nebraska. How about this guy?
I didn't know Nebraska
Svi,
produced NBA players. So.
this guy you might know. Svi Mikhailiuk.
Yugoslavia.
6'7" out of Kansas. Okay. Now this one, these three are guys that you may actually know. Okay. Juwan Morgan, 6'8" out of
Texas Tech.
Oh my God, he's one of my favorite players, dude. IU. Juwan Morgan out of IU.
Yeah.
Signed a 10-day contract. How about Daniel Oturo?
Yeah, that would be down in Mississippi State.
Yes, 6'8". You got the right initial letter. 6'8" out of Minnesota. And what about Tremont Waters? 5'10" point guard out of
Temple.
LSU. Wow, you did better than I thought. You got 0. I thought the over/under was going to be 1, but you got 0. Okay, all right. Well, that's a fun game, just to show you.
Yeah, it was a delight.
I mean, I honestly, I don't even think the coach could have told you who these guys were. Just saying. And then baseball. So we still have the lockout. I'm not hearing much news about it. Obviously, it's not going anywhere. Do you think this thing is gonna have an impact on the season? What's your gut feeling on this?
My initial gut feeling was definitely this was going to be. I called the lockout a year ago. Remember we were talking?
Yeah.
I said they're definitely going to have a lockout.
You definitely did.
My initial gut feeling was definitely. I'm a little bit more optimistic that with all the money that was spent before the lockout, there was a lot of good faith, big signings, and a lot of money being thrown around, maybe by the Mets, but still Texas did it. There was a few teams that did it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a subtle olive branch that they're not that far off on some of these things. So I'm going to say right now, even though you're hearing nothing, I think that could be a good thing, because if things were being leaked, it'd be all negative stuff. And so they're keeping it tight, a tight ship there in terms of leaks. You're not hearing anything. So I'm going to hope and be a little bit optimistic and say they start on time as of right now, but it is December 29th. So we'll see.
Yeah. Listen, I hope so. I'd like that. The baseball can't go through that again.
I mean, the Orioles can't win 56 games this year if they don't start on time.
You really think they're going to win 56 games?
I was being nice.
They're talking about Cedric Mullins, their best player. They're talking about trading him. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this guy makes $500,000 a year. He makes the minimum, and he's under your control for another 4 seasons. Why would you trade him?
Why would you trade him for 5 prospects and hopes one of them turns into Cedric Mullins?
In turn, and hope that one of them turns into a guy that's half as good as Cedric Mullins. Okay, that makes no sense to me. And then lastly on this topic, Buck Showalter. You know, I'm a big fan of Buck Showalter, and now he's the Mets manager. And it's kind of odd that the Mets went that way. I'm not going to say that they didn't make a good choice, because I think Buck Showalter is definitely a gritty coach, but he's not your trendy analytics type guy. He's the old school coach, the nitty gritty kind of guy. And here's my question on that. Okay.
Wait, I gotta say something. Did you hear his response to that though?
No, what?
His response when asked about that?
What's a computer? What he said?
That's not what he said. His answer to that was, I always like to have as much information before making a decision as possible. We just couldn't afford it in Baltimore.
Is that what he said?
Yep.
That's friggin' awesome. I love that.
He said I would have taken more information. We just didn't have a team. We couldn't afford some of the luxury items.
Oh my God. I love that, dude. I love a guy that can just say it like it is, man.
He
Throw
did,
the Orioles
yeah,
under the bus. I mean, everybody thought the Orioles were such a well-run franchise. But here's a guy he's been manager of the year 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If he takes that talented Mets team and he guides them to a World Series and they win, does that put him in the Hall of Fame? 3-time manager of the year and a World Series victory. You think so?
Yeah, because it's the combination of it's winning a World Series and winning it with a franchise that hasn't won it in a long time, and in New York, and with what he did with the Yankees, bookending it with the Mets. Yeah, I think the whole story. Yeah, because he also got a bunch of teams to the playoffs. He got a bunch of teams close. A lot of people think he was one of the main architects behind the Yankees dynasty in the late 90s, but he left before that. So I think.
Well, let's be honest, man. If you guys are going to do anything this offseason, you need to sign whatever the best relief pitchers are in the game, because you've got, like, arguably the two best starters.
Yeah, they still need more stuff at the 270 million payroll they have now. They still
Oh
need
my
stuff, but the owner
God.
doesn't care, dude. The thing is, the owner makes like 400 million in interest a year, so that's less than the Mets payroll still.
Jesus, that sounds like how much Phil and the Mike makes.
Exactly.
And then lastly, I just wanted to finish with our sorrow that that one of the best all-time, most fun announcers suddenly died yesterday at age 85, and that's John Madden.
Johnny M.
Just a bigger than life guy. I don't know anybody that didn't love John Madden.
Yeah,
He was just crazy. And it's funny because you got all the kids nowadays that play video games. They all play Madden. Every
they
year
only
it's a
know
new
that. Yeah.
Madden, right?
Boom, boom.
They don't even know who he is. But
I know.
even the younger generation knows the name John Madden.
Yeah.
But we know him as this great coach, as this jolly fat guy. I mean, honestly, for him being a big chubby guy, I'm actually surprised he lived as long as he did. I mean, this is not a little man. I mean, this is a big dude.
Big man.
So I think we all have our memories, and I enjoyed watching him and Pat Summerall just for years and years and years. And Pat was the serious one, and John was kind of the fun-loving, goofy guy. And
My fondest memories of him is like just the Thanksgiving Day games in Dallas. Like going back in the 90s when carving the turkey and talking about the turkey legs, boom, and he just like, like I just like that.
he
That's how
was,
I grew up with, and I did grow up with him as Madden being a video game. Like the Madden games came out when I was a kid. Like that was,
yeah.
but my fondest memories are that for whatever reason it was always the Thanksgiving game. Maybe because I didn't always watch the game he was doing, but that was the day everybody watched. So that was my real introduction to him in terms of broadcasting was always the
Sure. And
Thanksgiving game.
don't they still do like a special on the All Madden team? Don't they still have that every year?
Yeah.
That was always fun too, the All Madden team. He doesn't even
Yes,
pick
sir.
them anymore, but it's just the name. His name is just, I mean, he's got to be making a truckload of money just off of his name. And you remember
Yeah.
he would, I remember I was in college and I was working at Outback Steakhouse. And this is a guy that never would fly. I guess he was deathly afraid of flying.
Mhm.
So he would always take a bus. And I remember one year it was the Outback Steakhouse bus. So it was just a big thing. But yeah, pretty big personality that the sports world lost. And I don't even know who else compares to him. I mean,
Nobody.
I think Dickie V is probably John Madden on steroids when it comes to basketball. But aside from that, I mean, I don't know. Is Troy Aikman that much fun?
No way,
I
dude.
was I was saying something to my friend Scott last night about that. And I think he thinks that Troy Aikman is a good announcer. He might be the only one, but anyway. So that's it, man. You need to catch up on your sleep. I'm sorry about that bowl game. And you know what? I wanted to end on just one note, because I know that you're a huge Notre Dame fan. It turns out Ian Book is not Drew Brees or Taysom Hill
You had
or
to throw that in at the end. I mean, he was playing without his whole offensive line. He was playing with 20 guys with COVID.
Trevor Simeon, or he's
Don't
not
be
even Jameis
don't be
Winston.
silly. Don't
He's
be
not
silly.
he's not even Tim Tebow.
He might be fine. That was not the week to give the kid a chance. Come on, man. That's not fair. That's not fair. He was 7 for 10, had one tip ball for a pick. Come on.
But
Give
I
him
will
another week.
give him one thing, okay? His girlfriend is really hot.
That's good. I didn't see her.
That's about it. I don't know what site I was on perusing hot girlfriends of NFL quarterbacks.com. I don't know what it was, but so he's got that going for him. So congratulations. And was he on the practice squad? I guess he was called up from the practice squad, not for this game, but probably before when Winston went down. So he was their third string quarterback. So, hey, listen, he played. So no matter what, for the rest of his life, he never plays another game like that quarterback out of Alabama that we had. What was that guy's name? Remember that? He got sacked 7 times and his career was over.
I don't remember.
I can't remember for the life of me. It was Greg
McElroy.
McElroy. Yeah, that was it. That was his only appearance. Got sacked 7 times and that was it. So hopefully he gets more opportunities and hopefully he ends up being a better player than your last great Notre Dame quarterback. who's now an announcer and he's married to a gymnast.
Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn. Yeah. He turned out to be a really, he's and now he's another guy. He's very handsome, but can't play football to save his life. But anyway, but that's that. So anyway, Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year.
And I will look forward to our next podcast in the new year. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. Hope everybody has a great new year. Enjoy those bowl games and keep listening. Thank you for all the support. We're getting more and more views, which I love. And, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell people you like, tell people you hate. Just tell everybody. Look at us. We're so friggin' entertaining. It's so much fun. Look at Phil. Look at his head. It's not even glistening today. I love it. Look at that. It's beautiful. You've got the lighting all working out right. So anyway, be good. Have fun. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care. Happy New Year.